Welcome to Alignment by Tuva. I am Tuva. I'm a somatic coach, nervous system nerd, and today I'm going to tell you something I have never said quite this directly on this podcast. This episode is personal, and I'm starting there before the science, before the framework, before anything that could give you intellectual distance from what I'm about to say, because I think some things need to be felt before they can be understood. So stay with me here. I want to tell you about a little girl who waited. She waited for her father to notice her, not once, not for a season, but for years. He was not there, and absolutely not in the way a child needs someone to be there. And so she did what children do when love feels conditional and uncertain. She built a case. She became the best version of herself she could construct. She learned to cook beautifully, to listen deeply, to be useful, to be easy, to never take up too much space, to never ask for too much, to make herself so valuable, so indispensable, so good at the things that could be seen and measured that eventually she would be chosen. That little girl was me. And I'm telling you this because I want you to feel how natural it felt, how it didn't register as a strategy. It registered as love. It felt like that. This is what love is. You earn it. You work for it. You make yourself worth it. And if the love doesn't come, you just haven't done enough yet. I carried that map into every relationship I ever had. And the most honest thing I can tell you is that I didn't know I was carrying it. It wasn't conscious. It wasn't a decision I made every morning. It was the water that I was swimming inside. It was the only version of love I had a template for. I stayed in a relationship once for much longer than I should have. And when I look back now with the awareness that I have built through years of somatic work and through my own coaching and through the slow and sometimes very painful process of actually learning to see myself clearly, what I see is a woman who was clearly, quietly, constantly asking to be loved. I was always doing, always moving, projects, tasks, cooking elaborate meals, planning things, improving things, making everything around me beautiful and functional and good. I did not let myself rest because somewhere in my nervous system, rest meant laziness, and laziness meant I was not worth keeping. I was hypervigilant to his moods in a way I didn't even register as hypervigilance. I just thought I was attentive. I just thought I was a good partner. I thought this was what love looked like from the inside. My body knew before my mind did. Hormonal imbalance, acne, digestive issues, severe anxiety that had no single obvious source. Looking back, I understand now that these were not separate problems with separate solutions. They were one message written across multiple systems in the only language the body knows how to speak when the mind won't listen. It took me a long time to hear it. And when I finally did, when a somatic session just cracked something open and I felt it in my body, not just understood it in my mind, like what I had been doing, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. It was this specific feeling of something very old finally being seen. And I want to offer you that scene today because I think you might be carrying a version of this map. And I think it might be causing you in ways you haven't fully named yet. I want to describe something and I want you to notice honestly in your body, not just in your mind, whether any of this lands as familiar. You are the one who holds the emotional weight in your relationship, not because anyone assigned it to you, not because you made a conscious agreement, but because somewhere along the way, it became yours. You became the one who reads the room, who tracks the mood, who adjusts yourself, your tone, your energy, your needs based on what the other person seems to need in any given moment. You're good at it. You have been good at it for so long that it no longer feels like effort. It feels like attentiveness. It feels like love, but Here's what I want to ask you. When was the last time you were held the way you hold others? When was the last time someone tracked your mood the way you tracked theirs? Adjusted to your energy, made space for your hard days without you having to explain or justify or minimize them first? When was the last time you received fully, without immediately wanting to reciprocate, without feeling the quiet pull to make yourself useful again as quickly as possible? Just received. If those questions created any kind of tightening in your chest, any kind of quiet grief, any recognition of a gap between what you give and what you allow yourself to take in, there is a specific somatic signature to this pattern. And once you know it, you will feel it everywhere. It is the hypervigilance that presents as attentiveness, the way you scan a room when you walk in, not for your own comfort, but for the emotional temperature of the people in it. The way your nervous system is already running calculations before you have consciously decided to. Is he okay? Is she upset with me? Did I do something wrong? What does this person need right now? It is the inability to rest inside love. The way being loved, really loved, freely and without condition feels somehow uncomfortable, suspicious even. Like it cannot be trusted because it hasn't been earned yet. So you find yourself, even in moments of genuine connection, already planning what you will do next to justify staying, already building the next case. It is the quiet resentment that arrives without invitation and without a clear source. Because you are not resentful of the person, you are resentful of the dynamic, of the invincible contract that nobody signed, but both people are living inside. You give, they receive, and somewhere beneath the love, which is real, which is genuine, there is a voice that is being tired, that has been asking for a very long time without words, when does someone do this for me? And the most heartbreaking part of this pattern is not the resentment. It is the fact that even when someone tries to do it for you, when someone actually shows up to give, you often cannot let it in. You deflect it, you minimize it, you say, I'm fine, don't worry about me, before they even finish the sentence. And you turn their care into an opportunity to demonstrate that you don't need their care, because needing their care feels dangerous, because a part of you, a very old part within the nervous system long before the current relationship even began, genuinely believes that the moment you stop being useful, you become unnecessary. And unnecessary means alone. Now, let me give you the neuroscience and psychology underneath this, because I want you to understand, not just feel. I want you to understand that this is not a personality flaw. This is not evidence of brokenness or weakness or being too much or not enough. This is a nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. And understanding the mechanism is what gives you the power to change it. It begins in attachment, specifically in what psychologist John Bowlby called the attachment behavioral system, the biological drive present from birth to seek and maintain proximity to a caregiver. This drive is not optional. It is not the preference. It is not survival level wiring. An infant who cannot maintain proximity to their caregiver does not survive. So the attachment system is one of the most powerful motivational forces in the human nervous system. So what happens when that attachment is unpredictable, when the caregiver is sometimes present and sometimes not, emotionally available in certain moments and unavailable or distant in others, when love feels conditional on behavior, on performance, on being the right kind of child in the right kind of moment, the child's nervous system does something brilliant. It builds a strategy. Developmental psychologist Alan Shroff identified what researchers call the anxious attachment pattern, which is a specific adaptive response to inconsistent caregiving in which the child amplifies their attachment behaviors in order to maximize the caregiver's attention and response. They become more attuned, more vigilant, more useful, lovable, easy. They learn, not consciously, not in words, but in the body, that love is not a given. It is a variable, and variables can be influenced. This strategy works. It produces results. The child gets more of what they need. And so it gets encoded, not in the thinking brain, but in the nervous system itself, in the implicit memory, in the way the body automatically responds to closeness and distance and the possibility of loss. Probably call the result of this encoding an internal working model, a set of unconscious beliefs and expectations about how relationships work, specifically about what you have to be and what you have to do in order to be loved. Internal working models do not update automatically when the environment changes. They have to be consciously, somatically rewired, which means you grew up, your father eventually arrived, the relationship that was conditional on your performance eventually ended, and the environment changed. But the nervous system, which learned its lessons about love and safety in a very specific context a very long time ago, is still running that same program, still scanning, still building the case, still giving before it has been given to, because some part of it genuinely believes that it is the only way to stay close to someone. This is not a character flaw. This is an outdated map. And here is the psychological cost of running it every single day. Chronic hypervigilance, the sustained low-grade state of monitoring and managing the emotional environment around you, which keeps your automatic nervous system in a state of sympathetic activation, not the obvious activation of a threat response. But this is the quiet, chronic background hum of a system that never fully settles, that never fully exhales. And over time, this chronic activation has consequences: cortisol dysregulation, hormonal imbalance, digestive disruption, because the enteric nervous system, which is the gut's own neural network, is directly regulated by the vagus nerve and is affected by sustained stress. So anxiety that seems to have no single source because it doesn't, it is systemic. It is the body communicating the accumulated cost of years of vigilance. Your body was not malfunctioning. Your body was telling the truth. It was telling you, in the most direct language available to it, that the cost of this program had exceeded what the system could sustain. The question is not, what was wrong with you? The question is, what do you do with that information now? I want to be honest with you about something before I give you the framework, because I think the wellness space often makes this sound much cleaner than it actually is. Rewiring an attachment pattern is not a realization. It is not a podcast episode that shifts everything. It is not even a single somatic session. Although somatic work was the thing that cracked it open for me, it is a practice, a long, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes disorienting practice of choosing differently, not just in the mind, but in the body, until the nervous system begins to build a new map. And the most disorienting part of this is that the new map will feel wrong before it feels right. The first time I received care, really received it, without deflecting or minimizing or immediately finding a way to give something back, it felt deeply uncomfortable, almost unbearable. Like I was doing something wrong, like I was being lazy or weak or taking advantage of somebody else. My body wanted to move, to do something, to restore the balance of the transaction that my nervous system believed every relationship was. But that discomfort was not a sign that receiving was wrong. It was a sign that my nervous system had never learned that receiving without earning was safe. The discomfort was the old map resisting the new territory. I stayed in it, and slowly, not immediately, not dramatically, slowly, it began to feel less strange. And then it began to feel normal. And then eventually, it began to feel like something I had been hungry for during my entire life without knowing the name of it. You cannot think your way into a new attachment pattern. You have to feel your way into it. Slowly, repeatedly, in the body, until the nervous system believes the new story. So here is the framework I use, and the framework I use with my clients. It is 4 practices, not steps, because this is not linear, but this is 4 areas of consistent, deliberate work. Practice 1, name the program while it is running. not after, but during, okay? The moment you notice yourself doing something, not because you want to, but because you are afraid of what will happen if you don't do it. Name that, not out loud, not to anyone else, internally. This is the program. This is the old map. You're not shaming yourself. You are creating a microsecond of space between the stimulus and the response. That space is where the choice lives, the somatic component. And when you catch the program running, drop your attention into your body. Where are you holding? What is tight? What has stopped breathing? That physical sensation is the signature of the old pattern. Learning to recognize it in the body before the behavior has already happened is the beginning of the rewiring. Practice 2. Let yourself be seen without a reason. This is the hardest one and also the most important one. So actively, I want you to practice receiving attention, care, and love without immediately offering something in return. When someone pays you a compliment, receive it. Do not deflect. Do not minimize. Do not immediately give them a compliment back. Just receive it. Say thank you and let it land. Or when someone offers help, let them. The discomfort you feel is not a signal that you should not. It is the nervous system encountering new territory. But stay in it. Breathe through it. Notice that you are safe. Or when someone asks how you are, actually tell them. Not the managed version, the true version. Practice being known, not just useful here, okay? And practice 3, give from fullness, not from fear. This is the distinction that changes everything. You do not need to stop giving. I mean, you're a generous person and that generosity is real and beautiful. You don't need to bury that. But what needs to change is the source it comes from. Before you give, before you offer or help or do anything, ask yourself one question. Ask it in the body, not in the mind. Am I doing this because it genuinely feels good to give right now? Or am I doing this because I am afraid of what it means if I do not? The body knows the difference. Giving from fullness feels expansive, open, free. Giving from fear feels contracted, slightly urgent, like there is something at stake. And that distinction between the open chest and the tight one is the feedback your nervous system is offering you in every single moment. So learn how to read that. Practice 4 is to build a relationship with your own signal, because the deepest cause of the pattern is not the exhaustion or the resentment or the physical symptoms, although all of those are significant and they are real, but the deepest cause is the disconnection from your own inner experience. When you have spent years of orienting your nervous system toward other people's signals, your own signals gets quieter. You stop knowing what you feel before you know what they feel. You stop knowing what you need before you know what they need. So reclaiming your signal is a daily practice of interoceptive attunement. Spend 5 minutes a day of asking without any agenda, without trying to fix or change anything. Ask, what am I actually feeling right now? What does my body know that my mind hasn't acknowledged yet? What is here? This is the work of rebuilding a relationship with yourself that can sustain and inform every other relationship in your life. I want to close by telling you what is on the other side of this work, and not as a promise I can make for you, but as a description of what I have felt and what I have watched my clients feel. So what becomes available when their nervous system finally learns in the body, not just in the mind, that love is not a transaction. You become lighter. Not because your life has fewer demands, but because you are no longer carrying the invincible weight of a contract that was never yours to sign. The hypervigilance softens. The constant scanning quiets. You begin to walk into rooms and feel your own presence there, rather than immediately disappearing into an emotional management of everyone else in it. You become more generous. And this one surprises people because they assume that doing less giving means becoming less generous. But the opposite is true. When you give from fullness instead of fear, when it is freely chosen rather than compelled, the giving feels completely different. It lands differently. It nourishes both people instead of draining one. You become available to love in a way you were not before, because the wall that kept love at a transactional distance, the one that said it must be earned before it can be trusted, it begins to come down. And what you discover on the other side of that wall is that you were always worth loving, not because of what you could cook or how well you listened or how beautiful you were or how useful you made yourself, just because you exist, just because you are here. That is what I want for you. Not a different strategy for earning love, the experience of not needing to. This is the work. It is slow and it is not linear and it requires help. A good therapist, a somatic coach, or a community of people who are doing it alongside with you. You were never meant to rewire this alone. Your nervous system learned this in relationship. It heals in relationship too. And if this episode landed somewhere in your body, not just in your mind, share it with someone. Not someone who needs to hear it, someone you trust enough to have this conversation with. Because the conversation itself is part of the medicine. And please come find me on Instagram at Alignment by Tuva. I really want to know what came up for you. Send me a message because I read every single one of them. And remember, you were never too much. You were just loving people with a nervous system that hadn't learned yet that it was safe to be loved back. And until next time, stay aligned, stay curious, and most important of all, stay true to yourself.